Hi, this is Scott with Airmax, here to share some installation tips for your SolarSeries fountain. The procedures outlined in this video will not only ensure the best results for performance and operation of your SolarSeries fountain, but will also provide the most effective methods for securing your EasyMount solar panel assembly. Refer to your SolarSeries fountain product manual for a complete list of tools and hardware required. Before deciding on a location for the EasyMount assembly, be sure that the holes for the galvanized poles will not interfere with any underground utilities or irrigation systems. Select a location that is well above the high water mark with optimum southern exposure. The location should remain clear of any obstructions, such as shrubbery, trees, fences, or buildings that could limit exposure. Before marking out your two post hole locations, be sure to establish a plane that is perpendicular to solar south. Solar south is determined by the pivot angle needed to achieve optimum southern exposure based on geographical regions. Establishing this plane will ensure both sets of solar panels can be installed so that one assembly does not interfere with exposure to the second solar panel assembly. To establish this plane, first, calculate the offset from magnetic south. You can refer to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration website included in the product manual to calculate this offset based on your zip code. Or you can estimate the pivot angle based on your approximate location using the magnetic declination map of the continental US. Once you've estimated your offset from magnetic south, lay one of the 10-foot galvanized poles on the ground and use a compass or compass app as a reference to position the pole perpendicular to magnetic south. Then pivot one end of the post in the appropriate direction based on the offset you establish for your region. This offset from magnetic south will establish solar south and your optimum sunlight exposure. The posts should be approximately 76 to 80 inches apart to leave 8 to 10 inches between each set of solar panels. This spacing will help prevent human traffic that could potentially interfere with solar panel wiring. Next, use a post hole digger or auger to create two 8-inch to 10-inch diameter holes along the line established in the previous step. Holes should be a minimum of 36 inches deep. This depth should leave you approximately 84 inches above grade for your EasyMount assembly. Use a 5/8 inch drill bit to drill a hole through each pole 8 to 10 inches up from the bottom. It may be helpful to pre-drill a pilot hole with a smaller drill bit first. Insert a 1/2-inch piece of rebar into each hole so that an equal amount shows out each side. Hold the rebar in place with tape or a zip tie to keep it centered in the post until it is set. This step is important to keep the post from rotating in the concrete under high wind conditions. We also advise against the use of pre-cut cardboard tubes inside the holes for the same reason. The use of such tubes can lead to the entire cylinder of concrete rotating under windy conditions. Mix the concrete and water in a wheelbarrow according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Place a post in the center of the first hole and pour concrete into the hole until it is approximately 4 to 6 inches below grade. Keeping concrete slightly below grade will prevent curbing, which can lead to heaving during springtime frost in colder climates. Repeat for the second post. Plumb posts with a level and brace using 2x4 studs, clamps, and stakes. Allow a minimum of 48 hours cure time before installing the Airmax EasyMount assemblies and solar panels. We recommend installing the two grounding rods while the concrete cures. Drive an 8-foot grounding rod into the ground 8 to 10 inches away from the inside edge of the concrete, leaving approximately 6 inches exposed above grade. Repeat for the second mounting post. This rod will be used later in the grounding section of the installation procedure. The rods can be driven below grade after the rest of the system is installed and properly grounded. Before installing your EasyMount assembly, we recommend digging a trench for your power cord between the post and shore. To begin installation of your Airmax EasyMount system, first establish the recommended height for the main assembly by measuring down 3 inches from the top of each post and mark using a pencil or marker. If installing with one person, we recommend clamping a 2x4 block 4 to 6 inches long to the post at the 3-inch mark using a large clamp. This block will provide a shoulder or shelf for the upper beam of the EasyMount main assembly to rest on while installing the U-bolts in the next step. First, rest the EasyMount main assembly upper beam on your block and secure in place using the two U-bolts, washers, lock washers, and nuts. Tighten a half-turn past hand tight using a 3/4 inch deep well socket wrench. Secure the lower pole mount beam with the second U-bolt and tighten 1/2 turn past hand tight. Leave the U-bolts loose enough to pivot the assembly. Next, pivot the EasyMount assembly in the desired direction to face solar south, based on the recommended angle for your region, and tighten all 4 bolts securely using a 3/4 inch deep well socket wrench. Use the latitude of your region to set the optimum tilt angle. Some smartphones or compass apps will include your latitude and longitude on the screen, or you can refer back to the NOAA website recommended in the product manual. If neither of these options are possible, you can also refer to the table in the product manual to estimate your latitude and recommended tilt angle. If you will not be running your system in the winter months, then simply use your latitude as your reference point and set your tilt angle to the angle closest to your latitude. However, if you plan to run your system all year, take your latitude and add between 10 and 15 degrees when setting your tilt angle to get optimum performance when daylight hours are at their shortest. For example, a 42-degree latitude should be set to 55 or 60-degree setting on the EasyMount support rail. This will give you the optimum tilt angle in the winter months when daylight hours are reduced by 50%. Solar panels will receive ample sunlight during the other seasons, even when set for winter operation. Next, refer to the tilt angle settings in your product manual and attach your tilt support strut to the appropriate hole in the panel support rail. The angle settings are based off of the difference between the horizontal plane. Remove the tilt support hardware from the temporary location on the support rail. Secure each support strut in place with the tilt support hardware and tighten completely using 2 3/4 inch wrenches. Continue by installing a panel support rail extension. First, remove the 2 bolts, lock washers, and nuts from the end of the rail extension connector and attach to the panel support rail. Tighten using one 7/16 inch wrench and one 7/16 inch socket wrench. Repeat for the opposite side. Lastly, tighten the 4 pivot bracket bolts using a 3/4 inch socket wrench. Repeat steps 1 through 8 for the second post and EasyMount assembly. First, position a single-sided solar panel clamp at the bottom edge of one panel support rail extension and tighten using a 7/16 inch wrench. Do not tighten the top hex bolt as you will need room to slip the bottom edge of the solar panel frame into the clamp. Repeat for the second panel support rail extension. Position one double-sided solar panel clamp at the joint between the panel support rail and the rail extension. Repeat for the second panel support rail extension. Place the second double-sided clamp in the same position on the opposite support rail. Next, position a single-sided solar panel clamp at the top edge of one panel support rail and hand tighten only. Repeat for the last single-sided clamp. We recommend using 2 people when handling and installing solar panels. Avoid installing solar panels on windy days to prevent possible accidental damage to equipment. Position the first solar panel so that the wiring junction boxes will face the interior, ensuring all junction boxes face the solar panels on the adjacent solar post mount assembly once completed. Rest the first solar panel on the 2 lower single-sided clamps, making sure the face of the solar panel frame is beneath the clamp. Hand tighten each clamp. Next, loosen the double-sided clamp from the rail on each side. Then position the clamps so that they seat against the top frame of the solar panel. Secure clamps to the rail, but leave the top hex bolt loose to allow for positioning of the next solar panel. Position the second solar panel atop the double-sided clamps, making sure that the wiring junction boxes face the same direction as the lower panel and hand tighten. Then, slide the top 2 single-sided clamps down until they seat against the top frame of the upper solar panel. Secure the clamp to the rail with a 7/16 inch wrench, but leave the top hex bolts only hand tight. Use your tape measure to center both the upper and lower solar panels widthwise on the panel support rails. It should measure approximately 17.5 inches from support rail to solar panel frame on each side. Once the solar panels are properly centered, secure all clamps using a 7/16 inch wrench, but do not over-tighten. Tighten all bolts securing the clamps to the rail as well as the upper bolts securing the solar panels in place. Repeat the process for the second set of solar panels. To properly ground the system, first attach a grounding lug to the center grounding location of each solar panel using the screw and nut provided. Tighten each using a Phillips screwdriver. Feed one end of the 12-foot copper grounding wire through each of the solar panel grounding lugs and secure using a slotted screwdriver. Next, slide one ground rod clamp onto the opposite end of the 12-foot copper grounding wire. Loosen the bolt on the ground rod clamp and attach it to one of the U-bolts on the EasyMount assembly and secure in place, making sure the grounding wire is making good contact with the U-bolt. Be sure to leave some slack in the cable in case the solar panel tilt angle should ever be changed. To prevent possible injury, cover solar panels with either cardboard, blankets, or towels to prevent any voltage transmission through the solar panel cables during installation. To install the disconnect switch and controller assembly, measure down 10 to 12 inches from the lower U-bolt on the EasyMount main assembly and make a mark on the post. The disconnect switch and controller assembly can be mounted to either post. First, remove the 4 Allen bolts holding the controller and disconnect switch mounting brackets together. Position the top of the disconnect switch mounting bracket at the mark. Then attach the controller mounting bracket to the shutoff switch mounting bracket using the 4 Allen bolts. Secure in place using a 3/16 Allen wrench. When secured, the switch and controller should be parallel to the solar panels, making each easily accessible. Be sure to leave the switch in the off position until all wiring is complete and the fountain has been moored in the water. Using the MC4 cables provided, wire the 4 panels in series, making sure the negative lead exiting the switch is connected to the negative side of the first solar panel. Then wire each subsequent panel so that the wire exits on the positive and flows to the negative on the next panel. The positive terminal on the last panel will then provide the connection back to the positive connection at the shutoff switch. Cables on the solar panels are labeled with positive and negative symbols. A wiring diagram can also be found in the product manual. If burying the fountain power cord between the controller and the shore, which we recommend, a minimum 4-inch inside diameter Schedule 20 PVC pipe can be used for cost savings. If burying under a driveway or roadway, Schedule 40 PVC should be used instead. PVC pipe should be buried 6 to 8 inches below grade. Using the PVC conduit, run a fish tape through starting at the solar panel mounting pole. Attach the tape or a rope to the power cord end with the male threads, which is the end without the blue nut. Use your rope or fish tape to pull the power cord through the PVC pipe from the shore to the solar panel mounting pole. The power cord disconnect can now be connected to the output side of the controller whip. If PVC pipe installation method is not needed, simply connect the fountain power cord to the controller output whip. We recommend using zip ties to secure the power cord and MC4 cables. If PVC pipe installation method is not needed, simply connect the fountain power cord to the controller output whip. Next, feed the remainder of the grounding cable down the pole and attach in 3 to 4 places using the zip ties provided. Feed the grounding cable through a ground rod clamp and temporarily secure in place at the top of the stake. Any excess cable can be buried alongside the grounding stake. Repeat the process for the second EasyMount assembly. Finally, run the 8-foot grounding cable from the first to the second grounding stake. Loosen the ground rod clamp and feed the end of the grounding cable into the clamp and secure in place. Complete the process by feeding the grounding cable to the ground rod clamp on the second grounding rod and secure in place in the same manner. The ground rods can now be driven down until they are flush with the ground. We recommend using zip ties to secure the power cord and MC4 cables. Finally, we also recommend a final grade and surface prep to prevent possible future damage to equipment during lawn maintenance, as well as to prevent excess vegetation growth. To do this, simply cover the areas surrounding the solar panel mounting system with ground fabric and top with stone or mulch. If you are unable to perform installation of your SolarSeries fountain, please contact your certified Airmax service technician and they can perform this installation for you. First, select your spray pattern. The SolarSeries fountain automatically creates the classic pattern without a nozzle installed. The SolarSeries fountain also includes 2 additional spray patterns, the trumpet and crown and trumpet. To change a pattern, simply unscrew the nozzle nut, replace the pattern, and reinstall the nozzle nut, making sure to hand tighten only. We recommend removing the nozzle nut while displaying the classic pattern. Next, lay the float on the ground with the Airmax logo facing up. Place the fountain pump assembly into the center of the float. Lift the float straight up and ensure that the fountain pump lead power cord passes through the center hole. Gently lay the fountain to one side. Securely attach the power cord to the fountain pump lead quick disconnect. Attach the power cord strain relief to either the bottom of the float mount ring or the bottom D-ring on the intake basket assembly. Attach a mooring cable, not included, using 2 outside mounting locations on the opposite sides of the fountain float. Pick up the fountain by the float and place it in the water. A minimum of 36 inches of water is required for proper operation. If mooring the fountain to the shore, tie one side of the mooring cable to a stake and drive the stake securely into the ground. Take the other stake and mooring cable and walk around the pond, carefully pulling the fountain across the water. Once the fountain is in position, tie the second mooring cable to the second stake and drive securely into the ground. Ensure both mooring cables are snug to prevent the fountain from twisting and shifting during operation. If center mooring the fountain using blocks or anchors, spread the blocks far enough apart so the mooring lines are snug and the fountain cannot spin from the force of the motor, which could cause the lines to become tangled. After all connections have been made and the system has been properly grounded, you can test the fountain by first removing the cardboard, blankets, or towels covering the solar panels, then turn the disconnect switch to the on position. Depending on the quality of sunlight, a pattern should slowly emerge from the fountain. The height of each spray pattern will be entirely dependent on the time of day and the amount of cloud cover that is present. Each spray pattern will reach its maximum advertised height and width when solar panels are exposed to maximum sunlight. Fluctuations in pattern size throughout the day are perfectly normal and should be expected. If the fountain does not produce a pattern upon initial startup, refer to the troubleshooting section in the product manual. For fountain removal, storage, and preventative maintenance, refer to the winter removal and storage section of the product manual. Following the procedures outlined in this video will help you get the most out of your Airmax SolarSeries fountain. If you have any questions regarding your SolarSeries system, feel free to reach out to Airmax customer service. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the rest of our solar product offerings at airmaxeco.com.